Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today we Masechtas Nedarim Daf Pei Hey. We are going to begin on Pei Hamid Aleph, the second line from the top. So we were learning based on our Mishnah that said that a person who makes a neder against Kohanim and Leviim, that they cannot get any hana from me. So the Mishnah said Yitlu al Karchai, that they could take even against her will, which is mashma that the tovas hana that a person receives is not of any significance. She's not really getting any hana from that, and therefore it's allowed to be taken. However, the Seifa says that if she specifies this is only these kohanim elu or leviim elu, so the din is nehenim li yitul acher. So the din is others can take, which is mashma, they themselves can't. Well, why can't they? So l'chera, we said that's a stira. So why can't they? So we said perhaps it's based on the machlokas Rabbi and Rabbi Yossi, and this is the case on the bottom of Pei Dalet and Beis. If a person steals tevel of his friend and he wants to pay him back, how much does he have to pay back? The entirety of the whole thing, or just the chulin, which is in it, but not the trumas and meisers? So if you hold that you have to pay back the trumas and meisers, like Rabbi is of the Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi says, so that implies that tovas hana is mammon. However, if you say you only have to give back the mechulin, is because the trumas and meisers is not considered to be mammon, and therefore that's what we said is probably the basis of the machlokas. So again, at the very top it says the Rabbi savar tovas hana mammon, which is why you have to give back everything. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda savar tovas hana ina mammon. So where it says, "Lo, the kol yama tovas hana ina mammon." Really, it's not mammon. So if that's the case, we can understand if it's inu mammon. That's the reason why we can understand the shita of Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, who says that you only have to give back the mechulin shabai because tovas hana ina mammon. So the question is, so why, according to the shita of Rabbi, is it necessary to give back everything? So Ella, so what are we talking about? The whole machlokas is when it comes to matanais, which have not been separated, is it kimisha hormidamian? Is it ki'u like it was separated? It says the Ran. Kivan, the Rebbe Savar, why do you have to give back everything? Kivan shlu hormu, since you did not separate it, trumos and meisers, habu kechulin shaboy. It's like it's chul, the chulin, the lav kimisha hormidamian. It's like it wasn't separated, and therefore you have to give back everything. However, Rabbi Yossi Savar, it's kamisha humidam, so you did separate. The einul behem chum. There's nothing in there. So the question could just be based not whether or not tovas hana is mammon, and therefore could, for effort, duration, the safe of our Mishnah to like these two shitas, really maybe everyone holds tovas hana is ena mammon. So the Gemara says tovas hana ena mammon. So I don't understand. If it's nothing, so mali hurmu, mali shlo hurmu. Doesn't make any sense. What's the nafkamina if it's separated or not? If in fact the din is that tovas hana is not mammon, so even if it was not separated yet, so what? It's enu mammon. So why should Rabbi still hold that you have to give back the whole thing? Elahainu time the Rabbi kansuha rabban leganav. The truth is, it's considered to be enu mammon, but we're still going to make the ganav have to pay the whole thing as a penalty. We don't want him to steal. So if we start being lenient to a ganav, he's going to be more likely to steal. And therefore, if he steals something, he has to return the entirety of the thing, not part of it, because then that will not necessarily deter him from stealing again. If he knows that he can keep some of it, okay, fine, it's supposed to be given over to Trumas and Meisers. This guy may not care about that either, who knows? But regardless, it's something in which is a kanas. We're actually going to kanas the Baal Bayis, kehechi doi lishhe litivle. So the reality is, it was stolen. So why are we canasting the Baal Bayis? Why are we hurting the victim? The answer is because he's not so innocent, because he actually should have separated the Trumas and Meisers before. The fact that he didn't, and then sometime later Ganav stole it, so therefore you can only get back Chulin Shaboy. Rabbi Omer Shani Truma, the Hainu Taimish Dietlu al Karchai. So he gives a different shot in our Mishnah. It's not totally on whether or not it's truma, whether or not we hold Tovos Hana's moment or not. Rather, Truma is different. The reason why the Kohanim can take it is Mishum de Truma Lechazi El Kohanim, because we understand that Truma is something which is only fit to be given to Kohanim. So the Kivan de Koasi Lemesolahu Shavi Afra Ba'alma. So it's interesting. So the reality is that they're not really benefiting from him or his ownership of this Truma. Because basically, the fact is, it can only be given to a Kohen. If he basically says it cannot be given to any Kohen, so he's basically saying it has no worth, it's worthless. And therefore, because of that, they're allowed to take it. Says Rashi, V'hoyel uka'afrahavi lo mischali b'tovas hana. So we don't say that there's any element of tovas hana over here in this situation. And that's why they're allowed to take it, Bal Karchli, because it's like he's mafkari. He makes it worthless. So he's not acknowledging the potential tovas hana attached to it. Question 2. Kainim kohanim nehenim li yitol karchli. So ma'ishnom is saying for the kainim kohanim elu do yitol hamoidrin. So why? So we said one shot, perhaps it's telling whether that tovas hana is mamoin. So the Reisha holds tovas hana is Eina Mammon, so the Kohanim can take, and the safest tovas hana is Mammon. Rabbi says no. Even if you hold that tovas hana is Mammon, so that if it's tovas hana is Mammon, so the horse should be double pashi. You should have to give the entire. You should not allow the Kohanim to take it. But time of the Reisha kivan de oisal kol haKohanim, since not just on some but on all Kohanim, b'inu yochel l'sitalehem, you can't give it to them anymore. Batul tovas hana sheish boy. There's no more tovas hana. Tovas hana is you being able to give it to whichever person you wish. But there's no element of tovas hana because you're not your whole basis of your nether is saying that you can't give it to anyone. So therefore, for that reason, that is the din. Okay, let us continue with the next Mishnah. Kainim she'eni oisal pi abba. So let's say this woman makes a nether, saying that she's not going to get hana or allow others to get hana, namely her father, v'alpi avicha, your father, knows her father-in-law, v'alpi achi, v'alpi achicha, my brother, your brother. So she's not making a nether against her husband, but she's making a nether against all these other people. Any yachol hafer. So the din is the husband is not allowed to be made for this nether. Why not? Why is this nether chal? So the Rashi says, it doesn't pertain to him. So it's not devarim shebein leveina that it affects him because the nether is not on him; it's on other relatives. It's not considered to be inui nefesh because she's still able to get hana from others. Okay. So that's the shot. Okay. So look in the Ran, Mashani Oyse Helafi Abba Mekainim in Yochel Hafer the Ein Elu Nidri Inui Nefesh. Okay. So it's similar to, since it's on a Cherem and not on him, so therefore he's not allowed to be made for. However, says the Mishnah, Shani Oisal Picham, that this is on her husband, that her husband cannot get any hana from her in Sarchel Hafer. Not only do we say that's certainly something which does pertain to the husband, but to this extent, that he doesn't even need to be made for it. Why? Because this situation, this is something in which there's an obligation, says Rashi. Dolom or klum. Her nether's nothing. The lavkol kamina, the Torah says he's entitled to her masiyadeha. So since he's entitled to the actions of her hands, she can't make a nether against it. So therefore, he doesn't even need to make a hafara because it's not a nether. Rabbi Kiva says not necessarily. Rabbi Kiva Omer Yofer. Even though the truth is she is making a nether, nonetheless, he should still make a hafara. Why? Shematadif o of Yosim and Aroy. What if her extra money? What if she makes above the anticipated masyadeha? So since this extra money is hers, so according to this opinion, the Masi Yodeh is hers, so therefore she could make a neder against her husband regarding the hadafa, the extras, and therefore for that reason the din is that he should be mefer, so that he'll be entitled to her hadafa. Rav Yochanan ben Nuri Omer Yofer is a different reason. I don't hold this din of hadafa that's entitled to her, because it's a machlokas. Some say it's also the bal gets the hadafa, so then why would you still say you should make it hafar? Shem yigershena uti asuralav. Because what happens when she gets divorced? So when she gets divorced, this neder will be chal, and now even though at this time he's entitled to her masyadeha. However, when she gets divorced from him, he will not be able to. Obviously, he won't be entitled to her masyadeha. But the point is, since her neder is chal, and her masyadeha does stay by her at that point, so therefore at that stage you could make a neder, you could be made for this aspect of the neder, so if she gets divorced, that this neder will not be chal. Okay, even though right now it may not be chal, but in the future it will be. Fine. If you look in Rashi, it's the Hachi Yofer, Shemi Gershena, you may divorce her, Utea Sura Lachsolo, you actually won't even be allowed to remarry her. The Oisa Malacha Sha'isa Acher Gershon, the Malacha that was done after you got divorced, Kishetava Rishusai, when she enters in your Rishus, Aser Ba'oisa Malacha. You're Aser in that Malacha, the Chomas Yadeha Megershon Elach, and all the actions, everything she does from the time that you're divorced. Now, V'ksavar Adam Oiser Davar Shlo Ba'oila. It must be, he holds, even though this hasn't happened yet, this is a futuristic time, her future Masyadeha, so how can he be, how would this be chal, that you can answer something which is in this world? So as we're going to see in the Gemara, which we see many times, you go in Masyadeha, Jiasida Lasus Kishtavu Oilam, Ach Gershon, Afmi Shalobo Rashuso, Be'ez Shabol Olam, Tehim Agreshus he, like Shiabeno Rashuso, Tehelush Tehel Aser. Okay. So we'll actually see in the Gemara how this is going to be chal if it's a davar shel ba'ol. Okay, so let's see the Gemara. Let's see question 3. Kainim sheini oisel al picha ma'atam shel mandi oimer yafer I baha mishabedes loy. So it's either hadaf or if she gets divorced, then it's at that time she will be entitled to her masya daha. And shemi gershenu to yasur lachsor. Says the Gemara. Oimer Shmuel halacha Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. The halacha is like this last shita, that you should still be made for, because when you're divorced, her masyadeha later on, which hasn't happened yet, the din is that you won't be able to get remarried, etc. So remember, the Shmuel the maktish davar shel ba'ol. As we said in Rashi, it's clearly this is something which hasn't happened yet. You haven't been divorced, and she hasn't earned her masyadeha for the future. So the fact is, we're still saying that this neder is going to be chal. Or minhi, even though it's not chal now, because it's meshubah the husband. Fret the Gemara. Hamakdish masiyah de ishtay. Let's say a person is makdish the actions of his wife. Whatever you will earn in the future. Okay? So, as we continue with Hey Hamud Beis, the din is, harazu oisa v'chelas. She can still use it. Namely, it's not considered to be Kaidish. And the reason is, and the Rashi says, L'dibri HaKoil. This is according to everyone. Now, this is a situation where we have, again, this is a futuristic time, that it's for the future. It must be because you cannot be Makdish Davar Shel Ba'olam. V'hamoiser. Now, let's say he was Makdish, the extras that is produced. So in that situation, Reb Meir Omer Hektish, Rechon Hasan Lo Omer Chulin. So it's a machlokas when it comes to the extra of her masi there, her adafa, what the din is, whether or not that would be also bichal. Says the Ran, what does Rabbi Kiva say? Except Rabbi Kiva, the hadafa dida, it's hers. V'chayla hanidra, dahalo mishabdale misham hachisar hafer. Okay. Oh, that was actually part of Rashi from the Mishnah. If you go all the way down, it says v'hamoiser im hikdish moiser masyadeha dahainu yaser al chamish salayim Yehuda. If again she makes your makdish more than the amount which is coming to you, so a mayor says it's hektish. Why? Because Hasam b'malo mezainis. We're talking about a situation where you provide mazonos for your wife. Ve'eno malula ma kesef. We don't give the ma kesef. Shetiknu lachachamim tachas meiser. So the ma kesef that's given to the wife is instead of the meiser, her extra work. So therefore, you're only therefore entitled to her masyadeha, but not to her meiser. Ramer de oimer hektish lav mechayim kaimer de halesle be midi ela hektish la'achar misa kaimer. We're talking about that after she dies, only as a Yerusha. Shahabal Zacha Bahu Meiser B'din Yerusha. Not that he's entitled to it now, but only after she dies will he be entitled to the Meiser. The Sfil Rameir, the other Makdash Davashol Ba'olam. So it holds clearly that you could be Makdash something which is not here. Yochanan Sandler says it's still Chulin, the Sfil the Ein other Makdash Davashol Ba'olam. So we see that this is Machlokas, again, whether you can be Makdash Davashol Ba'olam. The Yom Shmuel Halach Rabbi Yochanan Sandler, Alma Ein other Makdash Davashol Ba'olam. Rabbi Yochanan Sandler says it's still Chulin. You can't do something for that which will be in the future after V'achar Misa. So I don't understand how could we have established before on the previous Amud that a person could be Makdash Davar Shel Ba'olam, that in a situation if you should be made for her, so when she gets divorced her Masiyah Daha, so what do you mean that's a Davar Shel Ba'olam? So we see over here in other Makdash Davar Shel Ba'olam. L'chi Tema Ki Kamer Halach Rabbi Yochanan Nuri. Maybe the only halachas like him is al hadafa hu dekaimer. In other words, that even the extra earnings does belong to the husband. That's what he's coming to tell you. The extra earnings, unlike the shita of Rameir that says the husband is entitled to it, no. Yochanan Nuri says that even the hadafa also goes to the husband, not just the regular. But le'inyan of davar shelo ba'olam, maybe in that case it works. That we disagree with this, and instead hold like Rabbi Yochanan Sandler that you can't be Makdash Davar Shel Ba'olam. So in other words, just because we're not necessarily saying the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan, halacha is not like Rabbi Yochanan Sandler. It says the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan Sandler, but maybe that's only referring to a dafa. But otherwise, maybe we don't hold like him. So again, al hudikaimer lema halacha Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri bahadafa. Then it should say the halacha is like him, dafka when it comes to hadafa. Inami halacha katanakama. Inami halacha Rabbi Kiva. El Omer Rabbi Yosef shani konamois hayav adam oisir peres chaver alav. So when it comes to konamois, there it's a little bit different because a person is able to ask his friend's fruits on himself. Oyser nami davar shel ba'olam. So therefore, we can also allow a davar shel ba'olam. So when it comes to konamois, perhaps we're making an exception that since you could ask your friend's fruits upon himself, so too you can work on a davar shel ba'olam. I can understand why you can ask people's fruits. Because one of the two people, yourself, are ba'olam. So you are under your own control, or you control the peros. You can't ask your friend's fruit on them. You're right. We really hold you cannot be Makdash Davar Shel Ba'olam. So how does it work in the Nedarim of our Mishnah? It's because she said Masi Yodai, her hands, and her hands are in this world, like we see many times. That's the teretz. Yodayim ha'isnu ba'olam. V'chi yamar hachi kadsha. So you tell me when she says this, it works. V'mishabdin yodeh labal, but her hands are meshubah to her husband to do her masyadeha, and those masyadeha go to the husband. The Yomer, because she also says l'chi megarsha. She specifically stipulates and says that when I get divorced, hash demiyas lo megarsha. And right now, it's true that she's not divorced. So the question is, so then why would it work? Well, it should still not work, just because you say when you get divorced. But right now you're not divorced, you're married to her, and there's a shib, your hands are meshubed, your masyadeha. So on this, we'll just see the next line, we're going to stop. a person says to his friend, Sadazu shani moichalcha, this field in which I own it now, but I will sell it to you, likashekchena, when I buy it back from you. So I own it now, and I will sell you this land when I buy it back from you, to Kadesh, it'll be sanctified, Milo Kadsha. So, we see even that works. Whereas it says, yeah, but Maskav Rabbi Yirmiyah, Midami, Sadazu Shani Moichalachach, when I'm talking about selling to the field, Hashta Biyadihi. Right now, you are the owner of the field. It is in your hands. Yisha Biyadal Kadsha, Masyadah. Is it in the woman's hands to be Makdish her Masyadah? No, right? It's still considered to be in Meshubah to the husband, and therefore you cannot compare the two. We're going to stop here. Let's see question 4. Okay, question 4. Matish Masiyadeh Ishtoi V'Maiser Amer. So B'Maikim Rameir Rav Yochanan Sandler. So this is with the help of Iran. He says that Mairi Be'ein Mala Ma Kesef. So you're not entitled to her meiser, the extras, because the ma'kesef that the man usually gives is connected is tachas the meiser. The Rameir holds it's still hektish because it's hers. Liachar misa shabal yarsha, her husband will inherit it. However, l'ri ein adamatish davar shobal olam. So therefore, that is the basis of this machlokas. Ad kan.